I'm the coordinator for Perth and Kinross. To explain, it has been slightly different to Michaela's journey, and probably it'll be slightly different to your journey. The funding has come through the Change Fund, Reshaping Care, that Jerry mentioned earlier on. I work with Council on Health on this, but I'm employed by the Voluntary Action Perthshire Department of PCABS, which is Perth and Kinross Association for Voluntary Service. Rather a bit of a mouthful there, but I think it's actually quite important to say, and I'm really happy to learn that you're thinking that the time banking might be led through the third sector here, because I think it kind of sets a precedent when you're going into communities. It is about community engagement. So when you're going in and saying, I work for a charity, I'm here to run this, as Jerry said, do with, not do to. Although Council on Health are working really hard and are working better at doing with and not doing to, and we all recognise that, communities and people on the ground maybe don't recognise that as yet. So when I go in and I do say I work for a charity and I work with you to run this project, not do it to you, but they really understand that we say when there's Council on Health buy-in and support, that means something to them. Oh right, okay, so that means something. So my job is, as I said, to facilitate the development of the initiative, because I'm not there to run it for them. For time banking to work, it does need the community and members of the community to be interested in it and actually want to develop it. So what I'm going to run you through is, in the short time, some of the stories that we've had coming out of the time bank, experiences we've had. I've been in post just over a year, so it's just been July 2011 that I started, and I started working in 2 communities initially. So we've had time banking in Cooper Angus, and they're called This for That. And we've also had in Aberfeldy, Deeds for Needs. And they came up with these names. It's their identity. I work with people on the ground, as I said, brokers, to start this project up. As I said before, I have the money from the Change Fund, Reshaping Care for Elderly, behind me. But when I go into a community, I don't necessarily overly mention that straight away. I mean, it's important not to hide anything from my community, but people on the ground, members, maybe don't need to know that, because as Jerry said himself, for time banking truly to work, it does need to be intergenerational. So for me, I'll look at, for my reporting purposes, I'll look at how many over 65s we had, what kind of services they're asking for, what kind of services they're offering. But we go in with an open agenda. I go in with an open agenda to the communities, because time banking will run slightly different depending on that community. It's about that community. It's a reactive, organic project. So we find it'll work differently in different communities. So on that note of having an open agenda, we started looking at a remit. I've got lots of animations on this, which is a bit silly. Oh, sorry. So this remit was designed actually by Deeds for Needs, and This for That adopted it because they felt it worked quite well for them. So they're looking at these key values here, sharing at talents and skills in a mutually beneficial way, making a positive difference in the local area, wanting to promote community spirit, establish and strengthen neighbourliness, build bridges across social groups, and build trust in the community. It's quite open, but it's what they wanted. Looking at the reporting side of things and evaluating side, yes, sometimes it's quite difficult. We're looking at sort of quantitative and qualitative information here. So what I've derived from this remit, we have an evaluation form, 10 statements, they all link into points of these remits, and our members fill them in when they join, and then they'll be asked to fill it in again, potentially a year down the line. I thought 6 months to a year, but we're going to wait to see how that goes. So it's questions like statements: I know my neighbours well, I feel comfortable asking for help, I feel comfortable offering help, because I think that's really important nowadays. People actually don't feel comfortable offering help because they don't know the action they're going to get. I feel I'm a valued member of my community. So these are points that we can try and establish some sort of evaluation process from the members themselves as well, because sometimes you might go in and they'll go, oh yeah, this community is great, but then when you get into the core of it, you find out things a bit more. Actually, I don't know so-and-so living 3 doors down. Maybe 50, 60 years ago I did, but I wouldn't now. So this is our group in Cooper Angus, This for That. I do have some facts and figures, just to give you an example. We've been running with the project in Cooper Angus since about late last year, but really things started to get going at the start of the year. So this is actually, some of these figures are quite impressive, and I'll explain why they're so impressive. So we've got 77 members. Initially we started before winter looking at winter in Cooper Angus. So we asked people if they would like to help their neighbours clear snow, pick up prescriptions, pick up shopping. If anyone has a 4x4, they'd be willing to help offer. So we had 44 names initially, people sign up to that. And we've built on that 44 names. There has been 472 separate single exchanges. And I use the word single, it's not 1 hour, 1 hour, but it'd be separate exchanges. So an exchange can be 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. There's been 2,651 hours exchanged in Cooper Angus. One thing about time banking is, we've said it can be something you enjoy doing, something you don't enjoy doing, you want something done for you, but it can be something that you're already doing in your community. Time banking recognises what's already going on in your community. So we have had in Cooper Angus all the organisations, local organisations, sign up to become members, and we have had a community cafe start in Cooper Angus. So people are starting to collect hours from volunteering at the community cafe. So we've had huge numbers being put into the pot because of the community cafe, because there's about 5 members doing 3-4 hours a day volunteering in their community, which is great. And the community cafe actually don't need that many hours, so they've donated them to a community pot that we have. Both our time banks have community pots to help people who can't gain help themselves. So you could, as we said before, you can donate hours to someone, a neighbour that you know needs help, to another family member, but we have a community pot that really can help people that maybe don't have anyone else, don't have support networks, that actually no one knows about necessarily. So the community pot's there to help these people out. Out of those 2,000 odd hours, about 700 of them have been donated to community pot, to groups, to individuals in the community. To give you an example of some of the exchanges that have been taking place in Cooper Angus, we've had some youth work. One of our youngest members in Cooper Angus volunteers at the youth group, then donates her hours back to the youth group. I kind of liken that to gift aid sometimes, to get people an understanding of what it means, because you kind of think it's like maybe printing money, or you're creating something out of nothing. But what we're doing is we're recognising the volunteering that's already going on in the community. So if you tick that gift aid box, you're already giving, and what you're doing is you're just wanting your money to go a bit further. So by donating your hours, you're extending what you're willing to offer. We've got teaching dance. We've got people who volunteer at the charity shop. Some word processing, IT help, pet care. Someone going on holiday had their cat looked after. Someone who went on holiday had their chickens looked after as well. Whole open list, you never know what you could get. And that's where I like this fab idea of the Hebrew that's being offered, because I always use that as the example of you might want to learn a new language, and I sometimes use Chinese, because you never know what's available in your community. Someone might be able to teach you Chinese, or we have a lot of Polish, Lithuanians, Hungarians in the region as well, so there's a potential there that there could be brand new language, brand new skills from other countries that are on offer within our time banks. Baking and stewarding, as I said, a lot of the community groups have signed up, and they're now talking to each other, which we weren't really doing before in Cooper Angus. And the torch came through Cooper Angus, the Olympic torch, and we also had Jubilee celebrations. So a community event was put on at the park in town, Lark in the Park it was called, and all the community groups came together and organised that. And that's maybe not just because of time banking, but time banking was an element that helped them do that, because they started talking to each other and started knowing what skills were on offer through the time bank. And the school, we have our school in Cooper Angus are a member, and they are on board as a school, and they're on board as classes as well, so they can sort of have a wee competition to gain credits themselves. And there was a lot of stewarding that went on with help from the school as well. 5 minutes. Goodness already, right. See, I can blather forever about it. So this is these for these. These are my ladies, Fiona and Jackie, the brokers that I work with in Aberfeldy. Aberfeldy works slightly different from Cooper Angus. I'm not saying it doesn't work as well, it just works differently. We have 35 members. They've exchanged 170 exchanges taking place, and that's about 694 hours to date, and 200 hours have been donated to other members. We've had exchanges such as washing windows, giving lifts, computer problems, pet care, IT, greenhouse cleaning, and we've done a couple of community sort of exchanges where we get together. What we've started doing in Cooper Angus is having, in Aberfeldy, is having monthly members meetings where we sit around the table, have a chat, think about bigger exchanges or bigger activities we could do. So we've done 2 litter picks. We had a ladies' night a few weeks ago where 2 of our members showcased some of their skills. So we had a lady doing eyebrow threading, makeup advice, and from that we're taking that forward, and we're going to have a creative session in November time where someone will be showing weaving, someone will be showing card making, of a day during a Saturday where we can sort of showcase what's on offer through the time bank and encourage people to join and say, if you're a member, you could get help with this. And we're going to take that forward into the new year and have Reiki sessions and so new year, new you kind of sessions. And we also do a round robin exchange at our members exchanges where you stick your hand up and you say, I'm looking for someone to do this, is there anyone that could do that? And we had a small members meeting just on Tuesday there. There was only about 5 or 6 of us there, smallest number so far, but flat pack furniture was one thing, and 3 people around the table said, oh, I do flat pack furniture, I'll help you out. There was abundance of help of something that some people really hate doing, you know, like ironing. You never know what's on offer. So we're looking at health here. What are the potential health benefits? Now, potential, as I said before, time banking could be limitless, but it needs to be driven by the members, and you never know what could come out of it. One of my members likened it to a tree, but new buds are coming up all the time. You never know what to expect from it. So we could be looking at physical reduction in falls. We could be looking at support for activities that someone can't do, putting up a shelf, grass cutting, they physically aren't able to do it anymore. Improved activity, walking groups. It should be social, it could be medical as well. We're looking at sometimes that people can be coming to doctors, health centres, looking for help, and it's maybe not a medical ailment, it might be something, so we're looking at referrals, social prescribing as well as part of our time bank. So, I'm sort of as quick as I can. I've got some stories I want to tell you. This is Bob. He was recently widowed. Came along to our drop-in just for a cup of tea. Wasn't really anything more. In conversation, Bob said he was a retired chemistry teacher. Don't suppose there's any need for that. And Saran, my broker, kind of rubbed her hands together with glee and said, "Oh yes, there is." You know, he didn't recognise that could be something. So a 6-week block of chemistry tuition was set up at the youth club in town, and those 6 girls that ended up doing it actually, they'd all failed their prelims, chemistry prelims. I'm happy to say they all just passed their chemistry hires and standard grades. Now, what does this mean? The results. We're looking potentially that Bob has reduced isolation. He's been reminded of his worth. He's increased his social networks. He's now knowing groups of kids in town that he never knew before. They're on Facebook sharing stuff. They all knew someone elderly that they maybe didn't know before as well. We're looking at increased in generally working, and we're looking at increased pass rates. These kids might go on to further education, better things. And further work. Bob had done a chemistry book a number of years ago, and he's now looking to put it into an e-book. That's just something because he's got back involved in it. Ginger's story. Very recent bilateral amputee. He's blind in one eye. He's really actually quite isolated. One of my brokers in Aberfeldy is a befriender with WRVS. Spoke to WRVS about some of the things that he's still needing help with, and WRVS unfortunately can't help with that. So he's been referred to the time bank. Now this is quite a new story with Ginger, he's just not long joined. So what Ginger's looking for is a bit of companionship, going for a beer with someone to help clean his house. What he's looking to offer is potentially he could offer with litter picks. He says he could quite happily do that. So what we might expect to see with Ginger is that there's reduced isolation, he's increased his social networks, and he's getting help with the things he needs when he needs them. That's the great thing about time banking. It can be just help with the things that you need. Putting a light bulb in, putting up a blind, shelf falls down, going for a coffee with someone. It's what you need when you need it. John's story. This is a quote from John. I wanted to join the time bank because I was becoming a recluse, and he said that, and we were kind of like, gosh, that's heavy words, John. So what he did was he came to our drop-in, straight away 3 exchanges were set up. He's now joined more community groups because he now knows what's going on in the town. He didn't know about it before. And actually what we're finding is he's walking into town. He didn't do that before because he didn't enjoy the town. So he's now getting more exercise because of the time bank. We wouldn't anticipate that, but that's what's happened. So as we said, results there. Again, isolation reduced, social networks increased, improved physical activity, and he's getting more involved in community life. So some quotes here from what our members are saying. I think you'll get these sent out, so I won't run through them all, but this is just a touch, and this is really actually just within a year, if that. Really, the time banks have been going since the start of the year. So what we're looking to do in the future, we're looking to build on relationships, develop more referrals from other organisations, from departments within health and council. I am working with Perth Prison to develop time banking within there, so the prisoners can donate their hours out to the communities that they live in, their families as well. As I said, referrals, we're working with WRVS, we're working with SACRO, working with pre-assessment clinics, physical activity, looking at physical activity in a different sense. So coming, cutting someone's grass, you're still being physical, but it's not the gym, it's a bit different. And looking at developing time banking in the rest of the region. My role is to develop time banking throughout the whole region in the next few years. Big task, but I'm willing and ready to do it. So we've got time banks in 2 communities. I'm stepping into putting my foot into other communities. Stanley, Pitlochry, Kinlochranach, Dunkeld, Ailith and Blairgowrie are all my next steps. So hopefully what we'll see in the next few years is a network of time banks in Perth and Kinross that can support other networks in other areas, and time banking in Dumfries as well, and in Dunoon and all over Scotland. It's a really exciting stage. As I said, last thing, potential time banking is limitless. It's so exciting. The potential's there to just be grabbed and taken and developed, and it can work for you in your region and however you want it to run. So thank you very much.